Alright, hey guys, what is up? It is Skullflag44 here, back again, continuing my high school tips series. This is just kind of an extension, just little, maybe some DLC for my high school tips series. The main gist of it is kind of done. Maybe I'll have something else to say later on, but for now, I think I pretty much covered all I wanted to talk about. But I did want to cover some things, just kind of maybe more specific to freshman year, and maybe some stuff looking forward to or towards sophomore year. So one thing I did want to say about freshman year, going into the year, it's pretty intimidating. At least my high school. I'm trying to find the box here, by the way. At least my high school is it's pretty big, lots of people there, and I didn't really have any clue of how I was supposed to get to my classes, what it was going to be like, any of that. And you know, it's pretty scary. But you know, it's really, you really shouldn't be all that scared. It's like all that scared is really not that big of a deal, but it seems scary, I guess. So one tip, I guess, for that is to go try to like walk through classes before school actually starts, like during the summer before then, because then that'll take some of the anxiety out of it, and you'll be, you know, a little, you'll know what you're doing more than other people, and hopefully you get your schedule before like the first day of school. In middle school we didn't get it, and in high school we do, which is way better, because then you can find out, you know, who has which classes or whatever. In middle school they try to do it so like that doesn't happen, but I'm not really sure why it's that big of a deal. So I would recommend, you know, walking through your classes, trying to, you know, figure out where you go, because you're gonna get a good routine down eventually, and if you have some idea of where classes are, it's pretty good. In my high school, it's pretty big. Some seniors were saying that they like still don't really know, get lost in it or whatever, which is kind of like, that's a little dramatic. Like I feel like now, I wouldn't get lost in it. Even now after, you know, doing the whole year, I still get confused by it, but not lost. But you know, you get kind of a routine down, and if you can, you know, work towards that, then that will be good. But you should also just know that everyone, all the freshmen are just kind of like you know, they're going to be, you know, you're probably more prepared if you're listening to this video or you've listened to this series than they are. So just know that, and then, you know, that might make you feel a little better. And also before school starts, we always play Ultimate Frisbee, because that's kind of when school usually starts on a Tuesday, and so we play Ultimate Frisbee on Monday, and so that's also a great thing to do, because that means you'll get a good night's sleep before school starts. Because I know, like, this going to sophomore year, I'm going to be nervous for the first day of school, even though I probably shouldn't be. I'm going to be. And that's just kind of how those things work, I guess. Maybe no one else gets nervous. I'm pretty sure some people do, at least. But you know, getting some good exercise before the first day of school is always helpful, because you'll be able to sleep better. It's better for you. And especially after Ultimate Frisbee, like, it's weird, in Ultimate Frisbee, you can just kind of like, you run, and then kind of after you get home, you just realize how tired you are, and the next day is, you know, you're sore, everything, I guess, too. Yeah, but that's kind of some follow-up tips for freshman year. Freshman year, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as people say it is. You should expect it to be bad, but it really isn't. If you want like a real expectation, it really isn't that bad. But it's harder than middle school, but apparently like for sophomore year is like way harder, so I'm kind of preparing for that. But it's like, it's not really the academics that are hard, it's more just kind of like the school stuff. And at least for me, it was dealing with the teachers the hardest, just because a lot of the teachers aren't very good at teaching. Shocker. Because you'll find like a lot of times teachers aren't that good. I don't know, that sounds bad, but people always say, you know, teachers should be paid more, blah blah blah. But like, the good teachers can be paid more, but there's a lot of bad teachers out there too. And bad teachers, like, a lot of people think like, oh, that's a bad teacher, must be a bad person. No, I had like probably the best person was, well, this like the second worst teacher. Like, just not very good at teaching. And you know, teaching is the whole, I'm not just talking about like a lesson or anything, but like the whole package of homework and all that jazz. So, you know, you can like, I don't know, I had some good teachers, I had some bad teachers. No teacher was perfect, but you can't expect that. But yeah, teachers is probably the big thing that you gotta, you know, make sure you know. and get to know your teachers, know what they grade, all that stuff. And then looking forward to sophomore year, apparently like it's way tougher. I'm going in with the expectation that I'm not going to get like a 4.0 like I did this year. And hopefully that's because I'm taking some, harder classes or whatever. Unfortunately, the way the school district lays out the classes, they make it sound like the classes are like the hardest thing in the world. And you need to know like the class if you don't take the previous class or whatever. But that's not the case at all. So if you're above average student, you get good grades or whatever, you should probably take the advanced class if you know you can handle it. Because the school district usually undersells it or whatever. Because a lot of people are idiots. So that was kind of frustrating. So like this year, I think I'm trying to take studio art. That's going to be a challenge because I am terrible at art. But you need some sort of art, like, what do you call it? Little thing to graduate or whatever. So I'm gonna have to take that eventually. And I'm like, you know what? This year is pretty easy. Let's challenge it. I'm gonna be taking like the AP version. It's called IB, but it's kind of like AP honor stuff. I'll be taking that junior and senior year, so I'm like, the only really way to challenge myself more than the school is already going to challenge me as a sophomore, either take something I'm kind of bad at. By kind of bad at, I mean like that's like if I had to pick, one thing that I was really bad at, it'd probably be art because I'm, not just can't draw it, but maybe I don't know, like it'll be interesting because like some art classes are like how well you actually do it, and others like how well you try. But I heard it wasn't like terrible. And if that might be the class that I learned the most from. So that'll be interesting for sure. Other stuff I'm looking forward to. Apparently honors, is way harder. So that'll be interesting. But they were talking about how like you have to read like 20 pages every night or whatever. It's like that's not bad. But when you have to like critically read it, that's the one thing for me. I'm not usually. I guess I'm still like above average, I would say. Or maybe just average, I don't know. But it's like reading comprehension stuff and taking those quizzes. I'm still above average, but like it's just not at my normal level. For whatever reason, like when I'm reading stuff, I have to read stuff way more carefully if I'm taking like a quiz on it or something. Just because when I read stuff for like the gist of it. Like reading books for fun. My brain automatically picks out the important parts, but teachers, being what they are, don't really, necessarily pick out the most important parts for you to take a test on because of like Spark Notes and whatever. And this is about like a 2-minute pause, or not, maybe not. I paused this and I tried to fix the recording, whatever. You guys can deal with the weird shadow stuff there. But so maybe I can try improving on that. I don't know. It's just kind of what I do now is just I read way more carefully, and I've been okay or whatever. And I'm gonna be taking. Well, I don't really know what I'm gonna get, but it shouldn't be all that bad. Should be fun. Other tips for freshman year. It's I don't know. Like, well, if you're going to 8th grade, I'll give you this. 8th grade is amazing. Because you don't have to do anything at all. I'm assuming like I'm pretty sure like at the end of each school or whatever, like 5th grade, 8th grade. 12th grade or senior year, it's like that's like the prime there, because by 8th grade they're just like preparing you for high school, and they'll probably over prepare you, but hey, better over prepare than under prepare, I guess. But and then like 5th grade you're not really doing anything there. So if you're like let's say you just finished 7th grade, you're in like the prime zone right there. Like from the summer of 7th grade to the start of 9th grade is just like golden. At least hopefully, if nothing bad happens to you. That sounds kind of ominous or something. But yeah, so just kind of have a good outlook, but expect my favorite sports writer Jeff Sullivan did a thing on the Mariners. Don't worry, I'm connecting it in a second. Because the Mariners are a bad baseball team or whatever. He said like if you set your expectations really low and a good outcome happens, your enjoyment, like the difference between those two equals the enjoyment level, and that's going to be way, way higher. But if you have high expectations and they do well, it's kind of like, oh, you expected that. So if you're like, wow, this is going to be really, really tough year, gotta, prepare, I gotta make sure I study a lot or whatever, and it becomes easy, then it's like, hey, this is good. But if you're like, oh, this should be an easy year, and then it ends up, being what you expected, then it's like, oh, not as good. So keep that in mind. Lookoutlanding.com if you're interested in baseball. It's greatest site ever. Not really, but not the greatest site ever, but definitely a good site. So yeah, that's all I have to talk about. Hope you guys enjoyed my freshman year talk and this whole series. Leave a comment or like or rating. I don't know why people ask for likes. Just rate it. I wish YouTube, like, every time you left the video, they just made you rate it or something, because, like, I don't know. It's the whole, I feel like YouTube does YouTube wrong. Like, they ask these things, like, in the partner deals, like, do you ask people for likes, in your videos? It's like, you shouldn't ask people for likes necessarily. You should say, hey, rate the video, like or dislike, just some sort of feedback there, because that seems like what it's intentionally for, but YouTube is messing up their own system. Bye!